Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. I am here today with the finale of my current Clash of the Pattern series, the Fancy Pants Fracas. This video is not meant to be watched in isolation. It is very much a part of the series, so I would highly recommend checking out the previous videos if you did not see them before. I'll put a link up here in the corner and down in the description box so you can check those out. But just a bit of a recap, in the first video I was talking about much more detail about the 3 trouser patterns that I chose and the fabrics that I'm pairing with them. In the second video I put them up against each other as far as the fit. I'll pop the leaderboard up here, but essentially this was based on how they fit right out of the packet, using the body measurements, finished garment measurements from the pattern and making adjustments as I thought I needed to. At that point we had the Mitchell trousers by Closet Core sitting in top place. In second place was the rose pants from Made by Rae, and in third place was the Taylor trousers from BF Patterns. Then in the third video I looked at the instructions, the construction method, the finishing techniques, and things shifted a little bit on the leaderboard. So in the top place was still the Mitchell trousers, but in second place was the Taylors. They had bumped up a step, and the Rose were sitting in third place. Honestly, it's all still to play for, of course, and the bottom line is what I think of the finished trouser, and I'm excited to talk through those with you now. So I'm going to start at the top of the leaderboard and work my way down, starting with the Mitchell trousers by Closet Core. These are made in a viscose twill fabric, and as you can see, there's a really wonderful weight and drape and bounce to these. I feel like it is a really great fabric to use for a wide leg trouser. I like the movement and the swoosh when I'm wearing these. This is a particularly soft viscose twill as well, so these are super comfortable. I do like wearing them, and I'm going to talk through the key design details just one by one. As I said, these are a nice wide leg trouser. There is a tapered view, so just bear that in mind. It's not super tapered, but it is more tapered than the wide leg. I really like this particularly for this fabric, as I said. This is a very high-waisted pair of trousers. Now for my body, I have quite a high waist compared to most patterns, so I did have to increase the rise by an inch to get to sit at my natural waist. This one does not have a waistband. It's a flat front, and it's got a waist facing on the inside. And I feel like looking at that, I'm not sure it's the best look for my personal proportions. I feel like having something to break up the waist is probably a better style for my body type. There's nothing wrong with these, and I think it is really just going to vary person to person. This does have a zipper fly at the front with a hidden button closure and a hook and bar. There is a really cool, interesting shape to the inside of the fly shield, and I really like that they give you an option of putting bias binding on the inside of that waist facing. This is also hand tacked in certain places to keep it in place. You could stitch in the ditch from the outside, but they give you the option of hand tacking, which I think is a bit nicer and is invisible then from the outside. There is some hand stitching on the front of the waistband, bringing the facing together with the trouser, the front of the trouser itself, and I feel like that gives you a lot of control and creates a really neat finish. I feel like the zipper construction and the zipper fly all came together absolutely beautifully. The thing that drew me the most to this pattern was the really interesting, unique pleat detail at the front. So it's a really big, deep pleat that is tacked down at the top, and then it fans out, and it looks like it's integrated into the pocket. And it is, really. As far as the construction, the pockets get folded into a section of the pleat. It's a really interesting and cool construction, but that was the one part of the instructions that I feel like were a bit lacking, and I could have probably done with maybe a better description or pictorial video demonstration of the pocket. But it did come together really nicely, and I really love the way that it looks. These have really fantastic roomy pockets as well. I did not have to touch these pockets. They were absolutely perfect as they were. And I do think that the pleat is adding really nice shape, but also giving me a lot more wearability with comfort. This also comes with an optional waist tab on each side, and this is very much something you could choose not to put in your trousers. I wanted to have it there because that was also another thing really drawing me to this pattern. I like the idea of it being a little bit more adjustable so that depending on body fluctuations, you can pull it tighter and make it a little bit looser. Yes, it does make these trousers possibly a little bit more fussy, and it can add bulk depending on what you're wearing. But personally, I think I'll be wearing things that are either cropped or tucked in, so I don't think it's really gonna bother me too much. And they are fairly far back on the body, so I don't feel like they're gonna be getting knocked on things. So from like a wearability and comfort perspective, they don't really put me off, but that is definitely, I think, personal preference. I did make my waist tabs a little bit thinner than the pattern recommends, and that's just because when I bought my bar slider, I think they're just called sliders, the metal bit that you put the tab around. When I bought mine, I went based on what the recommendations were for the pattern, but the shop that I was ordering from, I think, measures them a bit differently. So the measurement was accurate from like end to end of the slider, but the recommendations in the pattern, I think, were telling you for sort of inside the bar, so sort of from the inside end to inside end rather than outside. So mine were a bit skinnier than recommended, but I didn't want to send them back and get new ones. I thought I'll just slim the tabs down a little bit, and I actually like how they look. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference to make them a little bit chunkier, but I feel like they look quite sleek as they are. I went for a gunmetal gray as far as the color because I thought it would be a nice contrast against this fabric, and I'm really happy with the choice that I made. These have a dart at the back as well to give a nice bit of shaping. I feel like overall there's a really great fit across the back. Because of the extra give and weight of this fabric, it's maybe not sitting as snugly over the bum, but it's super comfortable. The back has an optional welt pocket, and I decided to just include one welt pocket as a design detail. I think it's fun, and I will say this was definitely my favorite part of the construction process of these trousers. I really enjoyed making that welt pocket. I think it turned out really neatly. Now, of course, this is a very drapey fabric, so there is a bit of a drape to the welt pocket, and it was going to be the case, and I kind of knew that going in. I think it would look even better in a crisp, like a more structured fabric, but I'm still happy that I put it there. I will use it. I often put my phone in my back pocket, so it's quite handy to have that there, and I do think it adds something to the look. Now, this fabric does just have a little bit of natural give to it, and it does have some weight to it, so things are kind of pulling in ways that might not happen if I chose in a different fabric. This does also feel a bit looser at the waist than I would probably prefer it to be. I did want it to be a bit loose at the waist because otherwise those tabs make no difference. I'm not gonna be able to pull it in tighter if it's already a tight fitting pair of trousers. But I probably could take those waist seams in a tiny bit. There was an option to try this on with the base fit, which I didn't do because I'd made a muslin and I was like, it'll be fine. I know the muslin fit okay, but probably that was a bit of a little beginner error. I probably should have just tried it on with a base fit, but I may go back in at some point and just take the waist facing off at those sections and just slim both of those down by maybe ½ an inch on either side. It's a minor detail. That's not anything that would put me off wearing these trousers. I think they are definitely really comfortable, and having that ability to tighten them up with the waist tab I think is just so nice. I think overall these are a really fantastic pair of trousers, and I think they turned out beautifully. I think they look great inside and out. I just feel like on my body, they're not what I was hoping. I feel like the shape and the style are not the best for my personal proportions. I would definitely be interested in making these again, and as far as like drapey fabrics, if you wanted to make something similar, I think these would be incredible in like a velvet. Not that I would particularly want to make them in a velvet personally. I think the finished garment though would be stunning. I think they would be really great in like a silk noil as well. But what I would be most interested in if I were gonna make these again, and I think I probably will, would be to make them in a more structured fabric, because I loved how these looked in the muslin fabric, possibly even more than the finished garment, which is ridiculous. Like, calico fabric is not meant to be nice fabric, like ideal fabric that you're going to be wearing, fashion fabric. But I really did like the shape and the structure in particular. So I would be really interested to make these again in either like a cotton twill or kind of a slightly lighter weight cotton canvas with some structure. I think they would be really great. And I think it'd be really interesting to try the tapered leg view. I think I would still keep the waist tabs though, because I do like the ability to cinch that in a bit or take it out. Next up then is the tailor trousers from BF Patterns. These ones are made in a lyocell twill fabric. It does have some nice drape to it, but it's not quite as soft of a drape. It's got a tiny bit more structure than the viscose twill, but it definitely has great swoosh factor, and I really like the movement. There's a slight little sheen to this fabric as well, so it gives it, I think, a little bit of a slightly dressier look, but I think it has an overall similar feel. And again, I think this is a great choice for this nice wide leg trouser. These are very much a classic tailored trouser, what I would think of if I'm imagining pleated pants. They look really sleek, really professional. These are very much like workwear trousers, but you can obviously wear them on the day-to-day as well. These have 2 pleats on either side at the front, and there is an option to top stitch the pleats down for 2 inches from the waistband. And I chose to do that, and I feel like that for me is distributing the fullness more where I want it. I think if I hadn't done that, it would be looking a bit more bulky over the tummy area where I wouldn't want it. As a result, I feel like these are actually a really nice shape for my body. I feel like the pleats are sitting in a really fantastic place. Everything looks just so very slick, very neat. It was constructed very precisely. The pockets I really like. Now, these pockets initially were a tiny bit shallow for me, so I extended the bottom of the pocket bag by 1 inch, and they are like, mwah, chef's kiss now. They extend all the way to the front of the fly, so they're a really nice wide pocket. So these are the biggest pockets of the bunch in total, which is always nice. I feel like they came together nicely. I was really happy with the fly construction of this one as well. So this one has a zipper fly with another hidden button and hook and bar closure on the inside. And again, this one is finished so beautifully. This one, they actually get you to cut out some bias binding out of your fabric, or you could use the lining fabric depending on what you're using, if you're using different fabric for your pocket bags. I went for the same pocket across, or the same fabric across the board, and I really love the way that looks on the inside of the waistband. I feel like it looks so slick and so neat. This one, I do like that waistband. This is what I was talking about, where I feel like because I have a higher waist, I feel like things are sitting in just the right place. Now these, in the end, I didn't make any adjustments for the pattern size, and I did have to do a full seat adjustment. So I didn't adjust the rise, so be aware guys, these are high-waisted. Look at the rise and make that decision before you cut them out, because I usually have to extend the rise, but these were perfect for me. But yeah, I did a 1.5 inch full seat adjustment to get the fit right on these, and I'm really happy with where they're sitting now on the bum. Comfort across the hip area is absolutely perfect, and I do feel like they fall really nicely. On the back has a really special detail that I really love, that there is some elastic at the back waistband that is not really visible. You can't really notice that it's there, but it helps everything to sit really flat and nice. This has a curved waistband, and I feel like it's sitting generally really nicely around my waist, and I think that elastic is definitely helping. This also has the most ease around the waist, and I feel like the elastic there means that it's still going to sit really neatly, but it does mean that it has flexibility when you're sitting down, when you're moving around, and I have to say these are so comfortable. I really love that detail, and I would be interested to try that on other patterns just to make it as comfortable as these trousers. I would be curious to try these again, this particular view, with another drapey fabric, like a silk noil fabric with possibly like a lightweight linen fabric, I think, or medium weight linen fabric could work really well. And then they also have another view without the pleats, and I'd be very curious to try those in a cotton twill fabric, in a cotton canvas fabric, even a denim. I think they would work well. Because these are the most classic looking trouser, I do also think that these would work really well in like a lightweight cotton suiting, and they would look really slick and definitely very polished. And finally, we have the rose pants from Made by Rae. This one is a tencel twill fabric, so very much the same as the last one. We have really nice drape and movement to this fabric. It is a slightly heavier fabric again, and it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, making them look just that little bit more dressy. These ones had the simplest design and were the quickest to put together. They have 2 pleats on either side at the front, and I feel like the location of the pleats, the depth of the pleats, are really nice. I feel like they're performing the function. I feel like they're looking really nice and slick without adding unnecessary bulk where I didn't want it. These ones have a flat front that goes up to a waistband. The waistband was actually a straight waistband, and I did have to add a little bit of curve to it just for my own body shape. I think the waistband at the front is a bit chunky and thick for my proportions. I wouldn't mind it being a little bit thinner. I think it would look a bit nicer for me, but that's just a, personal preference and body type thing. These ones, I didn't have to do too much adjusting apart from curving the waistband, but I did have to extend the rise, and at the front is extended by 1 inch and it's extended by 1 3/4 inches at the back, and that was just the perfect really proportions for me. Because I was extending the rise of these, I did have to lower the pocket opening by 1 inch as well, but the pocket shape other than that was perfect and I didn't touch it. I really do like these pockets and I think they sit really nicely and they're a good roomy pocket. There is an elastic back waist on these, so these are just like pull-on pants. You don't have to have anything to get into them. But I will say for myself, they are a bit of a squeeze to get over the hip, so it's definitely worth looking at the finished garment measurements just to make sure that you don't need to size up at the waist to be able to get them over your hip. But for me, like I said, I can get them on. The thing that was interesting about these for me that was different from other elastic waist pants is there's actually a channel to put 2 thinner pieces of elastic that you then top stitch over the top of. And I feel like having one big thicker piece of elastic, it just doesn't have as much flexibility and give. And I feel like this actually does make them more comfortable for bending, for sitting, for moving, because you've got these 2 thinner pieces of elastic. It shifts around a little bit more easily, and I think it is really comfortable. Whenever you have elastic at the back though, there is going to be some gathering underneath that. And so I feel like from the back, I don't love the look of these as much. Now it is probably going to depend a lot on what you're going to be wearing and whether you're going to be wearing crop things, whether you're going to have things tucked in, or whether it's going to be hanging over the back of these. I think if that's not visible, it's not a problem. And I think really for an elastic back, it's not bad. And I chose a drapey light fabric to avoid adding too much bulk. And I think for what it is, it's probably the best I'm gonna get. But when I can see a comparison to the others, I just feel like I don't love the look of the back as much just because of that elastic. It's always a trade-off with like comfort and style. I think these are a really cute pair of trousers though, so weighing it all up, I'm definitely happy that I have these in my wardrobe. I know that I will be reaching for them for sure, and I'm very interested to make these again. I will say I actually have already made a pair of shorts, so in addition to the trouser length, there's a shorts view and there's a cropped length as well. I made the shorts because when I was cutting these out, I actually had enough of this fabric to cut shorts with the same fabric at the same time, and why was I not going to do that? I think the shorts look super cute. I will be sharing those in my next makes video, so you can look forward to those. But in the fabric that they're in, I think they look fantastic, but I would be really interested to try them in other fabrics as well. I think these trousers would be so good in a linen fabric, like a medium or a lightweight linen would be fantastic. Also a linen blend, like a viscose linen or a cotton linen would be really good. I think a chambray would be amazing. I think a silk noil would work really well. I would generally stay away from the thicker fabrics, the more structured fabrics, just because of that elastic at the back. You're gonna end up with probably a little bit more bulk than I would want. But I think I will be making these ones again for sure. So with all of that in mind, I do feel pretty confident with which one of these is my own personal favorite. There are no losers though, genuinely. I think these are all really good patterns, and if one of them particularly appeals to you with the style, I think you're gonna have a winner. The rose pants, I did really enjoy the construction of them. I think it was really fun to put them together. I am incredibly interested in making other Made by Rae patterns because I was so impressed with the instructions and the construction process. But I feel like these ones just aren't quite hitting the marks with the other ones, particularly from the look at the back, so they're not the winner. The Mitchell trousers were my favorite ones to sew. They were a really satisfying and fun sew. There were a lot of details that were out of the ordinary, a little bit different, perhaps a little bit more challenging, but they were so nice to put together and everything came together really neatly. I really did love sewing these up. As ever, closet core instructions were absolutely fantastic. But I feel like the style of these, the silhouette of these, I just don't feel as great when I'm wearing them. I don't think it's the best shape for my body type. And so for that reason, they're just not the winner either. And so the winner has got to be the tailor trousers from BF Patterns. These were such a beautiful pair of trousers. Yes, there were a couple of little niggles that I had, particularly with the PDF pattern, but I know that the pattern company is going to be working on those and putting out an updated version. I feel like with the updated version, they are absolutely fantastic. They are smashing it with these trousers. There are so many little details on these that make them look just so neat, so slick. It was really nice bringing everything together. On the whole, I think the pattern instructions were really good, and I would highly recommend these trousers. I feel like these are the most classic and therefore the most versatile trousers of the three, and they are the ones that I could see myself sewing and reaching for again and again. I definitely did not know where this was going to go when I started this challenge. As I was going, I was surprised to see some shift in the winner and in the loser, but I do feel like these ones did really take the cake, and they deserve the crown of my ultimate fancy pants. I hope you found these videos interesting, entertaining, and informative. They are definitely some of my most labor-intensive videos, but I really do enjoy putting them together. If you did want to give me an extra special thank you, you can buy me a coffee. The link is down below. But the best way you guys can support me is by giving me a thumbs up, making sure you are subscribed to my channel, and sharing the series with other people. I had no idea where the series was going to go at the beginning, but it's been really fun going along. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do leave comments down below on your thoughts about all these trousers, if you're interested in trying them out, if you thought maybe they might be working better in other fabrics. I really do love hearing from you guys, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye!